If you find the size of the universe or the echoes of your mind to be scary, then this video might not be for you. But if, however, you feel your place in existence not to be one of destiny, but one of choice and courage, then read on. Seriously, this one's gonna get spooky. Life is a complex way to exist, and with the jury still out on the purpose of all this, is it possible that your life is, or could be, a game? Well, first of all, what do we mean by a game? A game is usually defined as a predictable set of rules that you can observe and have an effect on. But the word game can also mean the exact opposite. If we exist inside a controlled reality like the Matrix, then you might consider our existence to be a game. There's also the possibility of life being a highly advanced video game that you're experiencing in the future and that you'll wake up from, having only been receiving the experience for a few seconds. In this respect, a game can sometimes be a thing that doesn't really matter or make any difference, or even a situation over which you have little control, like the situation the characters in the Hunger Games are presented with. But is a game that you can't choose to stop playing a game? Maybe to understand that, we should first decide who, or what, is playing the game. It's possible that we might just be a part of the game environment, or the mechanism of a controlled game reality. If that's true, then is the universe the player? What if the universe is just another part of the environment? To look at it another way, perhaps evolution is the game, and we are indeed the players. Conway's Game of Life is a computer program that presents an infinite grid with a very simple set of rules. Any filled cell with fewer than 2 neighbours will disappear, while any filled cell with 2 or 3 neighbours will remain. More than 3 neighbours will also cause a cell to disappear, while an empty cell with exactly 3 filled neighbours will become active. Conway's simple rules sound abstract, and they are, but what the Game of Life shows us is that an environment with very few, very simple rules can be home to complex behaviours. People have created oscillating patterns, reproducing travelling groups of cells, and even whole logical computers building only on Conway's 4 simple rules. So is it possible that we are just groups of cells? So obviously the answer to that question is yes, that is absolutely what we are. And yet, if we're lucky, our experience of life feels like it has something more to it. Free will. Free will throws a big question mark over whether life is a game, or even what sort of game it is. We feel that we have free will, and if we do, then that would make each of us into a player. If free will is all an illusion, then we can't be the players, because we wouldn't have control. Sometimes the lack of free will argument is misplaced and actually just means nothing matters. There's a difference between your actions don't add up to anything I deem to be important and you aren't in control of your actions. So how do we prove or disprove whether we have free will? You could say that copying someone else is a sign of free will because you had to make a decision about whether you wanted to copy them or not. But then on the other hand, you could also say that copying is just an instinctive behavior that all beings exhibit. So then on a third hand, are we realizing that all beings have free will and are therefore intelligent? That's probably true to some extent, but there's also something deeper going on here. Copying observed behavior is one of the simplest games ever to have existed. So simple in fact that we believe it might be one of the only ways to be sure that we've made contact with alien life. If you were to flash a torch into the dark and then see the same pattern of flashes come back, then the chances are that you've found someone or something intelligent. However, the intelligence you've discovered must also have the appropriate apparatus to be able to respond, which in the case of our example means a few things. A torch, of course, some kind of mechanism with which to observe the light from your torch, such as our eyes, and a complex logical structure that can first identify that the sequence of flashes is unusual, and then imagine the possibility of a reply. In other words, an intelligent brain. So we've just defined the minimum requirements for playing games, a way to observe, a way to have an effect, and something to logically tie those two things together. If games are the currency of intelligence, then does inventing or playing games prove that you have free will? Is understanding the rules of an abstract game and choosing to comply enough? Humans usually like to deal in hopelessly flawed binary ideals. Do we have free will or not? But actually this is sometimes an unhelpful question. Who said anything about free will being binary? Is it not possible that some of your behaviors are examples of free will to some extent, while others are based in pattern or instinct? Maybe a more useful question is, how free will are you? On the other hand, if we don't have any free will at all, then what would someone or something with true free will look like to us? On a basic level, probably extremely surprising. If we are indeed creatures of destiny and we have no control over our actions, then true free will would be impossible to predict, maybe even impossible to understand. Which raises a further question. If we encountered true free will, what would we do? What subconscious action could possibly respond to a true act of free will? You could argue that beings without free will are not capable of observing true free will, but if it is possible for true freedom to exist in our material universe, then the actions of that will would surely reach us. There's another, much more exciting possibility. Is it possible that free will is like a virus that you can catch from other beings with free will, like a contagious enlightenment that rips through the universe like a firestorm, turning order into chaos, and chaos into games, then games into humor, and then that humor into a YouTube video? If free will is something we have, do we have it because we each grew it in our own minds? Or is it something that is passed between beings by games?